On a scale of like 1 to 6 2/3, how ready are you?
I'm about as ready as I'm gonna be tonight, Ty.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That is the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty. I am one of your co-hosts.
And the jury is still out on whether or not your other co-host, Distance, is a monster.
And tonight is the Metacast movie show about Monster. Monster is a 2018 crime drama directed by Anthony Mandler with screenplay by Rada Blank, Cole Wiley, and Janice Schaffer. It's based on Monster by Walter Dean Myers.
Stars Kevin Harrison Jr., ASAP Rocky. I'm not even going to tell you his real name, ASAP Rocky. Jeffrey Wright and Jennifer Ill. It has a tomato meter rating of 67% with an audience score of 68%.
So while technically released in 2018 to limited audiences at the Sundance Film Festival, Monster is now seeing its first major release last week on Netflix. The film follows Steve Harmon, who's a young honor student in Brooklyn who finds himself facing life in prison after he is charged with murder. So this film, honestly, at first, it really impressed me. I do think that there were some great story, supported by some really impressive performances. Jeffrey Wright really stood out in this. There he is. I loved him in Westworld, and really, like, I thought it was great as the father in this role, or in this film, excuse me. And honestly, like, from the very beginning, I was engaged. I didn't get bored. I liked the story, and I really enjoyed what they did with it. So while I feel like the film, it's definitely not perfect, right? It's a decent movie in my opinion. There are definitely some problems with it, but I still really enjoyed it, and I feel like it had some interesting and important things to say. I had poignant in my notes. I had poignant things to say. God, I need to read my notes more. That was a much better word than interesting. But,
yeah, your notes did a good job. You should listen to them next time.
I should. See, okay, that's why I need to hook up that second monitor so I could actually have the notes visible. But
Pardon me.
You're good. I do feel like it had some poignant things to say about the American justice system. And almost for that reason alone, I feel like it is worth watching. As far as giving it a verdict, I think it's kind of obvious. I am going to give this one a yes, obviously, from what I've said so far. I know that this is kind of echoing a few things I've said about movies recently, a couple of episodes ago, but I do think this is the type of movie that will, if you're open to it, engage you in some thought and exploration of maybe preconceptions you may have, just different things like that. I think that this type of movie is, conscious expanding as long as you can allow it to be. And that is, honestly, I do think that the world could be a better place if more people had experiences like that, where they, that think about things differently, critically think more, and things like that. So, I mean, for that reason, I think that films like this are important to have. So that's my main draw to this. What do you feel like?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one to me. I feel like this is a bad movie with good performances and good cinematography and interesting. Well, not even interesting is the wrong word. Interesting is not a word. And cerebral, I guess, kind of themes. Like you said, I mean, I agree with you. Like, if you let it be something that can kind of like open your eyes, so to speak, or whatever, then it can be, but you have to kind of let it. But I think there's ways to increase your, understanding of certain things without this movie. I think there's better ways to go about exploring the themes that the movie gives you. I thought the performances were pretty good, in my opinion. There were a couple roles that were a little too much. like overacted, I think. And
The prosecutor, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, his role is way over the top. It's like, are you trying to be Al Pacino right now? Because it's not working. This is not Devil's Advocate, buddy. And I thought that I liked Kelvin Harrison. I thought he did a really good job. I think he did great work in the voiceovers. I think that A$AP Rocky actually did a really good job. I always get excited when rappers do movies because it's always fun to see like how they take on another art form. John David Washington, I love him and all the stuff he's in. I loved him in Ballers. I really enjoyed the performances. Jeffrey Wright, I think, is, and I said this to you before we started filming. He's like an actor he's good in movies that are bad. Like even if he's in a bad movie, he does a good job. But for me, this one, it has things that are good. The cinematography is excellent. I think a lot of the ways that they filmed stuff was great. I think there's a lot of individual performances that were good. The plot was too fast. This movie shouldn't have been, I think it was like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
This movie should have been closer to 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 15, and maybe 2 hours and some change. I think the plot just needed to happen a little slower. I don't try to call it before the movie ends, but I already knew what was going to happen. Yep. Really quickly. So for me, I personally liked parts of it. Generally, I don't think it was a good movie, but it had some stuff in there that was decent. So if you like good cinematography and you like good acting, then watch this. But if you want a clever plot, this is not clever. It's just not. So generally speaking, though, if I have to give a black and white answer, I got to say no on this one.
That's fair. I do think, that is a really good point. I like a lot of what you brought up there. I am interested, because as you basically generalized, called it in general a bad movie, but it sounded like a lot of the constructive parts of it, like the performances, the cinematography, a lot of it you did like. But yeah, so I'm interested to get more into the pacing, I guess. Yeah, and then those parts that were kind of not so great. So yeah, I mean, like you said, this one is really easy to figure out exactly where it's going. I was also I was on the same boat where I knew immediately. I think one of my first notes is like, this is how this is going to end. And I was 100% like right on. And I didn't even get any help from this little guy over here. It was not even Spoiler Terry that told me. It was, I got it on my own. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into some of the details of this. My first note, I thought the intro was really well done. I like how it was like right into just the camera footage. And like, I actually had to I wonder, like, echoing kind of what you said about the pacing and things going too fast. I had to rewatch the intro 3 times just to make sure that I understood what was going on. I like made sure that I wasn't missing things and like it didn't like, yeah, that I got what I was supposed to get out of that film footage and everything like that. But
man, don't you hate when you run out of room in your glass? Fuck.
I don't use a glass. I need to start using a glass.
Oh, you're a barbarian, sir. A barbarian. Yeah, I mean, I tried to listen. But like I said, I mean, there's good performances. Like the voiceovers are great.
Yeah.
I wish that they'd given I want to call him John Washington, but I think his name actually is John David, and that's what he goes by. By the way, that's Denzel Washington's son.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that. That's fucking cool, huh?
I watched it with my lady friend, and she mentioned that to me. I was like, no way. So, but I did a little bit of research. Yep, that's his kitty.
What else has he been in? I did not really recognize him from much.
The performance that I remember him best in was in Ballers.
Okay.
He was in Tenet, I think. I didn't see that movie. Let me see. Oh, he was also in Black Klansman.
Okay.
Which I haven't seen that, but apparently it's quite good. And he apparently he was in the old Malcolm X movie with Denzel in 1992.
I saw that. Yeah, he was a student in Harlem Classroom.
Yeah.
He was in the Book of Eli. Or no, hold on, I'm sorry. Co-produced. I don't know if he was actually in it.
Here, let me make this movie to put my dad in.
It's like reverse nepotism.
Often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like the one that's
like,
way more successful than you two. Yeah.
But yeah, he the thing I remember him the best in was Ballers. He plays an athlete in the movie series, and I liked him a lot in that. I kind of like his style. I wish he would have gotten more screen time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. It's interesting here, listed under his filmography. So I haven't seen Tenet either. I wanted to see it. I still want to see it. I've heard horrible things about the sound design of that movie, which is, yeah, like that's all I just keep hearing is like how bad the sound is, which Nolan movies have over the years just had worse and worse sound. I don't know if he's like actually trolling theater audiences at this point or what, but it seems like he's like purposely making the sound horrible. But it's interesting that he's credited as just the protagonist. I don't know if we never learn the main character's name in Tenet. Like, is he actually just like the protagonist the whole time? But it's kind of funny. I'm only getting that from this Wikipedia article, so I don't know. But
yeah, I feel like he's a good actor that maybe hasn't gotten a chance to be in a lot of really good stuff. Yeah, I actually on screen and good stuff. And the role he played in this was like, it was okay, but it was just a little like, there wasn't much to it. There's no complexity. He basically just takes the stand and then that's pretty much it. There's like a little bit here and there. He's very flat. And I got excited when I saw him. I was like, oh shit. And then I was sorely disappointed after that.
Yeah.
It was
like almost a cameo. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm gonna Google that. What else is Kelvin Harrison actually in?
Yeah, I don't know. He impressed me in this though. Is it Kelvin? Did I write this wrong? I've had Kevin the whole time.
That's Kelvin. Looks like.
Oh, well, you know what? Okay, well that brings me to one of my. I wonder if it's from this. Hold on. One of my like the meta notes here, like the things that are outside of the movie. The notes about the notes. I don't understand what is going on with like Rotten Tomatoes page of facts and things. So many of the names were wrong on this, and I'm wondering if that's where I got Kevin from. Did they also have him listed as Kevin? No, okay, so no, they have Kelvin there. Okay, but no, on the Rotten Tomatoes page, for instance, Jennifer Eel is credited as Catherine O'Brien, not Maureen. Her name was definitely Maureen in the movie. And Aesop Rocky is credited as William King, not James King. It's like they got two character names completely wrong. And I don't really understand why. But.
And I think I actually called him Kevin in the whatever. You can edit that out. Yeah. Maybe, or I mean, I think maybe Rotten Tomatoes, just if a movie gets a bad enough score, they just don't give a shit about it.
The scores weren't horrible for this though. It's like 67 and 68. That's
it's below decent. A D.
Oh no, hold on. It's on like college scale. That's a solid C in college, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't remember.
I never made a grade that low for it to matter. That's what happens when you go to community college. But yeah, I liked him in the voiceovers, and he was pretty good in most of the acting. But I mean, I'd like to hear him do audiobooks. I would love to hear him read A Tale of Two Cities. I think that would be cool.
It's just let me link you his YouTube ASMR channel. You'll love that.
Wait, does he actually have one? That'd be awesome.
No.
Oh, damn. Well,
but no,
everybody else does.
I thought his narration was great, and I also loved the narration style. How it was like, because of as being a film school student and everything, that he was like, constructing the movie in front of us, like even doing the like the stage direction that would be on the screenplay and everything like that. Like I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of the film. I thought it was
meta.
A little. Oh yeah, it was so meta, bro. It's meta. It was kind of, I don't know, kind of cheesy, I guess, but not like in a way that made me dislike it. Because not all cheesy is bad.
Yeah.
It's like, to begin with, it was kind of cool, and then after a little while, I was like, okay, I'm getting tired of the whole like the whole like meta film thing. But one thing that I was thinking watching this movie, I think the attorneys were allowed to do a lot of stuff you can't do in court.
Yeah, they were not very accurate with a lot of the, like, for being a crime drama and for having a lot of scenes set in the courtroom and everything. Yeah, they really didn't try to stick too close to reality with that, which I don't know if it was just to try to paint the picture in a certain way or tell the story differently, but yeah, it did just seem kind of off. Yeah.
Because there were a few things in there that seemed like they were leading the people on the stand. I don't think a prosecutor is allowed to point at defendants and call them monsters. I'm pretty sure that's not something that you're like really allowed to do. But I know that you have to make it more interesting for the movie. But there were some things that made me think that there are things that actually happen in court, and I had a few feelings of, man, court is so fucking stupid. Like, those were thoughts that I had. Like, when you tell the jury to disregard,
Yeah.
they can't do that.
Yeah.
It's been said. Like, what? And I had that whole jury of your peers thing is so fucking stupid, because I think what we should have is we should have a dozen people who are trained to be conscious of biases and sort of try their best to be as objective as possible. I have a problem with that jury of your peers thing now that I think about it, that somehow it's thought that, and that's the thing, like, define peer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that the actual definition of peer is someone within 5 years of your age, either plus or minus. So it's like, what is that when you're trying a 17-year-old kid? What are his peers then? That doesn't really make sense.
And you know, it's like I had this kind of thought just on the themes part of the film that no system will be perfect, and that any system of justice is going to have problems. And the thing is you can look at statistics for wrongfully imprisoned people who were later found to be innocent, and those numbers are quite low. But the thing is that for the person that was wrongfully imprisoned, that is 100% of their existence for that period of time.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's that's one thing that I thought about in the movie that I thought was kind of valuable. But you know, like I said, there's other ways to come across these ideas.
Yeah.
So it's you don't have to watch this movie to get that, which is one of the major reasons why I kind of gave it a no.
Mm-hmm.
But this is still a place where you can kind of look at that, and sort of get an idea of it. And
it is. I'm wanting to explore though because I find the same. I find myself coming to the same conclusion that it doesn't really make sense, the system that we have. It's not. It becomes this. Look at what lawyers do. It becomes this pageantry of like trying to like, you know, I mean, like they even like Maury even said in the movie, it's like our job is not to show that you're innocent or something. It's to show where their case messed up or something, you know, something like that. It like becomes this weird game that isn't actually finding the truth. It's just this weird pageantry to appeal to a certain audience and things like that. But the alternative though, you know, it's like if you're talking about having almost like a state designated panel that is then people that are supposed to be trained. So like at that point, it's like, who's determining that these people are trained in critical thinking or something? It's like you literally could just end up where it's like, oh, okay, now we have juries appointed by whatever party is in power right now, and that could end up to like, oh well, now it's really easy to throw political opponents in jail because now it's like the jury's always going to be on this, you know. So it's like I wonder, you know, like I definitely agree with the criticisms, but it's like, well, what is the alternative? How would you fix that?
Yeah, and that's the thing, like I don't have a better idea, but the problem, well, I mean, I did have a better idea as far as juries go, but I don't know how you would actually do that, you know, but I think it should be someone's job, honestly. But
yeah,
another thing, like you're saying about critical thinking, a lot of people don't even have standards for like what constitutes truth.
Yeah.
And you know,
a lot of people can't even define what critical thinking is.
Right. Like, is it when you think badly of somebody and you criticize them, or is it thinking that's super important?
It's when you roll a 20 in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Because I think.
Does it have to be a 20?
I think that's a critical hit. I think I honestly don't. So for as big of a nerd as I am, I've actually never played D&D. I've watched people play it, but like I've never actually been part of a D&D group. But
I played it once when I was 12. I was not a fan.
really,
yeah, there weren't pictures. There weren't enough pictures.
well, you must have played old school D&D. Have you seen like now people's current D&D setups and everything? It's awesome. A lot of people have like tables with a large flat screen touch panel TV built into it, and that's the map. And you move pieces around on this, and the dungeon master can change things. And D&D has become this like really really fucking cool thing. But yeah, it's not just like the D&D that we saw in the beginnings of Stranger Things or whatever, that the kids were playing in the 80s. Like, yeah, D&D has completely changed from that now. But
back in my day, damn, that's. I don't know. That actually sounds kind of cool,
right?
Yeah, but yeah, it did give me some thoughts about kind of like our justice system, and when you talk to people about philosophy, a lot of people don't understand that it's like a practice of trying to figure out what's true.
Yep.
They think it's a bunch of pontificating idiots that are asking like, how do you know what you know? And what is life? Yeah. Like crap like that. That's what philosophers used to bog each other down.
We've talked about that recently too, where most people don't understand what an actual argument is. Like in any sense, they really think it's just like, oh, well, I'm gonna yell my opinion louder than the other person, and that's my argument.
Yeah, it's like is it when you get in a fight with your significant other, and only your significant other?
I believe I think the term is actually insignificant other. You're missing a syllable there, I think.
Oh, oops, sorry. Your insignificant other. But yeah, I don't. Or that an argument is something that actually happens in programming.
Yeah.
And it's related to logic.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's there is like I think well, honestly, what if the solution is to actually have a population that understands that, rather than like where people like a juror, that's their job almost. What if it was just like in actual if you go to college, you're gonna almost always have to take some sort of like philosophy 101 or some sort of logic class, but we don't do that in any sort of lower education. Why is that not just a part of either middle school, high school, and things like that, where we literally like teach people critical thinking and logic at a fundamental level, to where then a jury of your peers could have some sort of basic understanding of what actual logic and rationality is?
Yeah. I knew that at some point this is going to become an idea episode. It had to. I've thought about that sometimes too. And a friend of mine who admittedly, I sent him a text out of nowhere just to say hello. And we hadn't talked in a couple of years, and he validated my identity because he's paranoid. So we'll just set that as a baseline for the thing that he said. Many years ago, we were having a conversation where he said that he had read some piece of literature written by somebody that was talking about how the American education system was made to condition a workforce.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know how widespread that is. I don't know what type of profession you would be in to validate whether or not that's true. But I've heard a few people kind of say that it's intended to kind of indoctrinate a workforce. And there's a certain point in American like society, like our economy, where we kind of needed that sort of, I guess, to build a bunch of shit so then people our age could take it for granted. I sometimes wonder if critical thinking is a detriment if you're trying to condition a workforce. But another thing, not everybody has a mind for ideas. Some people aren't good at thinking about ideas. And that's kind of, I think, what's happening.
But do you not think that can be learned? Do you think it is just almost like a something you have to be born with, like that it can't be adapted? Or
yeah, I mean, I think you can, because I've had this conversation with a few people, and I've like really kind of rethought my perspective on it. That I don't. So when you think of like there's intellect, knowledge, and wisdom, I think are the three types of smart that are usually defined when you talk about like what being smart is. I mean, knowledge obviously is the information that you get, so you can get more information and increase your knowledge. Wisdom you get from experience if you pay attention.
Correct.
And there's some people that like don't pay attention to the shit that happens in their life, and they get no wisdom. Like you can be 90 years old and have little, maybe at that point it wouldn't be none, but you'd have little wisdom to pass on to somebody. But intellect, like your ability to kind of think and your ability to process information, I think a lot of that is just you're born with. And I think there's a lot of really smart people that almost can't even take any credit for it, you know. And I used to have this degree of arrogance about being a reasonably intelligent person, and I realize now that I don't there's no reason to like have any degree of like hubris about it. Like some of it is just shit that I didn't earn. I just kind of, you know, I just am kind of smart. And I don't remember building this. I don't remember a time where I was like, I am really, really, really unintelligent and I need to get smarter. There was a time where I thought, I don't know enough information and I need to get more.
Yeah, but like, education and intelligence are definitely two different things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you can get educated because I know lots of idiots with bachelor's degrees.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody, actually, I think with no exceptions, everybody I've talked to about their MBA that has an MBA will tell me that it's a complete bullshit like degree. Like you don't actually get anything that helps you.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of paper. So then that would be like, ooh, MBA, prestige and shit. Okay, here's 10K more a year. You're welcome.
There is definitely, with that, there is something to be said that a lot of degrees are just proof that you can follow through and finish something. Like it's not actually about like what you learned. It is about just like, oh, well, you spent the time going through X and Y and you actually completed it. That's not worthless, but it is kind of silly that it's like for so many things. If you look at the statistics of like, there's a massive amount of people that have absolutely nothing. They're working in a field that has nothing to do with their degree. You know, it's like that seems to be the vast majority out there. It's like you get a degree in X and then you go work in Y, like completely unrelated.
Dude, my boss at work, she's a like IT manager. Like she's directly below our IT director. She studied 2 foreign languages in college, and she's
like double major, like just
like it was a French and
Python.
German.
Oh, okay. I was hoping one would be at least a programming language.
Python. Ooh. Well, it's just COBOL. No, she's not that old.
Exactly. Just like Steph says in chat, she works in finance and has a master's in biochemistry. I got a degree in economics and work in my title's business analyst, but I basically work in IT. I should have, I guess, gone for computer science or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I went to school for my 2.5 short years and for computer information technologies, and I'm an IT guy, so I guess it happens.
You actually
sometimes
you did it right, yeah.
I mean, I studied psychology for like 2 semesters. In the middle of my second semester, it was like, I'm gonna have to go to school for how long? Oh, fuck this. Yep, and I was like, how about this business thing? And then I was like, this macroeconomics course fucking blows. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm good with computers. I couldn't. This is what I'm talking about. I don't have a mind for that kind of stuff.
That's like, exactly what happened to me with physics, though. I was doing the physics route, and it was like, oh, hold on. If I actually wanted to do this, it means I'm basically gonna have to get a doctorate to do anything. Yeah. Like, okay, let's find something practical.
Yeah, I wanted to study physics too, and then like I looked at the title of the calculus book, and I was informed I can't even say calculus right. So it's like it was never going to happen. But I mean, that's kind of my point, is that, you know, like I talk to people about ideas a lot, and there's some people that like they can't grasp that sort of talk. Like there's such a layer of abstraction to all of that that it, you know, like
I do wonder though. I understand exactly where you're coming from. But it's also because it was never taught at formative ages. I do wonder that it's like literally if you had in elementary school or middle school some sort of just critical thinking course that tells you like, this is how logic works. This is what a deductive argument is. This was an inductive argument is. This was an invalid argument. Like, if that was just part of everyone's fundamental general education at a young level, I wonder if that could be more learned than we see currently.
Yeah, and I mean, like I wasn't taught that in my formative years.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of chose to study some of that stuff independently, just because I like to know shit.
Yeah.
And it's weird though, because it seems like I was already doing philosophy stuff when I talked to people before I studied it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would very often, because you'll hear people say the philosophy is like a science of definitions, that you have to understand what everyone's talking about first before you can talk about it.
Yeah.
So like, what do we mean by this? What do we mean by that? Yeah. And I would do that when talking to people. Like, I was just like, well, could you explain to me like what you mean when you say that? And that just wasn't stuff that was taught to me. But I mean, I feel like the most important tool in most cases is just the word why.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of go from there. But then also, like, I don't know what it was like before I learned like how like argument worked, and like that an argument can be valid but not sound, and like and it's funny because when you say something, like someone will say to me at work, well, it worked yesterday, and I'll be like, I don't think that with computers inductive logic typically applies.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, what'd you call me?
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, and then I'll tell them like inductive logic is like, the sun came up yesterday and it came up every day before then. Therefore, the sun will most likely come up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh. And it's like, yeah, because unless there's a variable that we know of that could change to cause the sun not to come up, then we could determine maybe it's not going to come up tomorrow. And even then, it's not coming up per se.
That's very true. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that I was listening to oh God, I'm gonna be that guy. I was listening to a TED Talk, and it was a British guy talking about how they used to teach like argument and rhetoric in school, like in primary school in England, and apparently they don't anymore. And he was talking about like how valuable it is. And it's really funny because people don't understand that. Like, people think rhetoric means bullshit.
Yeah.
But it actually means like language used to attempt to prove a point.
I thought it meant one of those questions you weren't really supposed to answer.
And the thing is that, yeah, like you're not necessarily meant to answer it because it's intended to prove a point as a question.
Yeah. Yep.
But people think that it strictly means that you're not supposed to answer it. It's just trying to persuade somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do wonder though. It's like I feel an emotional attachment to the famous like bumper sticker and saying you see so often that like critical thinking, the other national deficit. Like, I do feel like we have a major problem with the lack of critical thinking around. And I don't know if it's necessarily just our country. I'm sure Lee could validate if it's like, is it the same in the UK or not? I don't know if it's literally just America, but it's like, it does make me wonder though. It's like, is that, I think you are right that it's not, there are some people that will have a knack for it. There are some people that like everyone has, internal talent for something, or just, kind of like an inclination towards something. But I don't know if that necessarily means that it cannot be taught at all. And I mean, there's people that are great at drawing as a kid, but I don't think that means that like not anyone, if they spent time and effort with a piece of paper, could learn to draw. I don't think that like talent is just like you have to be born with it thing. But
yeah, I could kind of make an analogy to your point that I am garbage at math, but I was taught different types of mathematics as a kid. So I can do basic shit like, figure out, how many grams I need, versus, I don't know, tablespoons or whatever. I can convert, how many cups are in a pint. Like, I know that, and I understand like moving decimals in the metric system. I can do basic like addition. I can figure out how much of a percentage this is of this number, things like that. Like, there's basic shit that like I learned, but I can't do calculus.
I've got a brilliant idea for a series. I'm going to teach you calculus. If you have the right teacher, you could learn it. I guarantee it. I will teach you derivatives, limits. I got this. You don't want to learn integrals? They're a lot of fun. Calculus really is a lot of fun.
I feel like I'm supposed to call you like a nerd or something right now, but I don't feel right about it.
Do you know how calculus was invented? Like, do you know where it came from?
Didn't Isaac Newton think one day, like, I need to figure out gravity, I'm gonna invent calculus at age 22?
I think it was 24, but it wasn't like, I mean, gravity was definitely part of it, but it's more like, because like the whole idea of calculus is being able to calculate with things that are moving, with like, rather than it being like stationary numbers. Like if you're adding 2 + 2, that is just two static things, versus if you're trying to calculate bodies in motion, you eventually need things that can deal with, like, approaching infinity or approaching zero and things like that. And that's where it comes from. And it was like you're saying, a necessary invention to deal with the reality of the universe, basically.
Yeah, and but if people at least took a little bit of some kind of class on that at a young age, they would at least have like a baseline. They might not be able to debate like complex, moral issues or things like that.
Yeah.
Or not fall asleep reading anything by Immanuel Kant. But I mean, they could at least have. So I mean, to your point, like people might not be able to get excellent at it, but yeah, at least they'd have a baseline. Like I'm not gonna. And I've heard a lot of people say like, you just need to be taught math and the right way. But to me, it's the same fucking thing as when someone tells me they don't like tofu, and I'm like, well, you've never had my tofu.
I feel, oh my god, it's the argument when someone says they're a lesbian and a man's like, oh, you just haven't had the right yet. And I feel like I just gave you that same argument with calculus, so I feel like scum. Like I really feel shitty right now. But
hey, maybe I just need a piece of your calculus, Ty.
You got it. What is that? Oh my god! What was the really cheesy boy band song that had like calculus, you plus me equals us, or whatever?
Yeah, it was a fictitious boy band in a movie. Wasn't it called Was it called Together with the number 2?
I think it's N Together. Yes. Oh my god! What was that from? You plus me equals us. Southern by Together. You got this. What was this from?
It was a movie. Like MTV did a movie in 2001. I'm looking at this shit now.
I didn't realize the name of the movie was just Together. Yep. Yeah. You got it.
I believe that's the name of the boy band. Yeah.
Big Dog, yeah, actually, thank you. Yeah, we have gotten so far off topic. I thought this was a crime drama, not a calculus comedy.
That's another one of those good point. Things. We just did it. Like we were all about, some of these are like idea episodes, Metacast. It's what we do. It's our shtick. We don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Exactly. I do embrace, but let's bring it back in. What other, like, do you have specific points about the movie? I loved the, I thought Maureen, Jennifer Eel, I thought she did a great job as Maureen, as the checked out public defender. I do think, similar to the prosecutor, it was a little over the top. I don't think it was nearly as exaggerated as that. I don't even know that dude's the actor's name. I didn't even bother to look it up. But I loved the line though in the beginning though, where you could tell she was completely checked out. Like even he asked about the stack of folders that she has, and it's like, are all those like cases? And she's like, yeah, it's not even all of them. And but I love the line when he says like, I didn't do it. Do you believe me? And she's like, it doesn't matter what I believe. I'm gonna do my job. I do think that is like an important thing for public defenders to really believe that it's like, you don't have to believe your client's innocence or guilt or anything. It's like, you're there to do a specific job. The way our legal system works, everyone, no matter how atrocious their alleged crimes are, deserves a fair defense.
There goes my favorite line. Thanks, man.
Frick.
I'm just kidding. Okay. My favorite line wasn't there anywhere. I feel like you might be able to. You're not going to be able to predict my favorite line, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, Nas is in the movie for like 5 minutes or less. That's cool.
He didn't have enough screen time. But, well, so like the executive producers of this, Nas, John Legend, I forget who some of the other ones were. Like, it was cool that Nas was on screen for a little bit. I don't think John Legend cameoed at all in it. I didn't see him at all.
What role would he have played? Maybe like an attorney, and maybe.
Yeah, or background prisoner number 8-4. You know, like
he's too pretty.
There are definitely pretty people in prison.
That would be a bad cast. Well, yeah, that one dude on the interwebs. Yeah, I remember. But that would be a bad cast. That would be a very bad cast.
Okay, I can feel that.
You know, there are a few things like
his wife is
there's
pretty.
A couple scenes in the movie that I thought, you know, where he asks the question, you know, who would I have to become to last 25 to life in here?
Yes.
And it makes me wonder, we think of prison as being a, quote, corrective action.
Yeah, it's supposed to be reformative, quote unquote, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
But when you hear someone say, who do you have to become to last in here? Well, after 25 years or even 5 years, how can you unbecome that?
Exactly. Yep.
Like, where's the reform there? Like, what are you doing? Like, it sounds to me that you're just separating what you think of as, like, quote, undesirables from the rest of society.
Yep.
And it's like, do you want someone to come out and like exist in our civilization in a way that's productive for them, or do you just want to put them someplace shitty?
And that is exactly why the recidivism, am I saying that right? The recidivism rate is so high. It's like, I mean, if you're not creating an environment where people can actually be reformed, you are, what the system does is just create more hardened criminals. You have to become something to survive that environment. And then when you serve your time, and as our justice system is supposed to be, like, once you serve your time, you are then a citizen again. Like, well, you're not the same person that you were before that. You are literally someone that is now engineered, for lack of a better term, to like just be a criminal and go right back into that system.
Yeah, there was that. But like I said, it's a bad movie with some good stuff in it, and to me, that was a good line. Yeah. It was a way to like kind of make you think about stuff. But the character King, James King, played by A$AP Rocky, when Steve kind of meets him, it made me think a lot about this whole like romanticized kind of image of like a gangsta, you know?
Yep.
Have you ever heard the song? I think it's by Kehlani. It was in the Suicide Squad movie, which you hate. The scene where Harley jumps into the vat of chemicals that bleaches her skin.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the song that starts playing as she's jumping off.
Okay.
And she says, "I need a gangsta to love me better than all the others do." Is it always forgive me, to ride or die with me, because that's what gangsters do. There's just a lot of these like ways in which we romanticize the idea of it. There's all kinds of shit that's probably not so great that we romanticize in art. You know, infidelity. There's lots of songs that people like go crazy over about like someone cheating on someone else. I'm like, yo, you not hear what you're listening to? Or like in movies, there's that other guy, and then there's the husband who sucks. Yeah, we want that other guy because we're the audience. And even if it's like, well, how about you just, divorce that guy because he is a piece of shit first, maybe? I don't know. But it's just this whole idea that since that's romanticized, when you see it, especially from the perspective of an artist like Steve is, you have this kind of romantic, almost, I'm not going to call it bohemian, but there's almost like this romantic kind of idea of it, that there's some kind of allure or glamour to it, when in reality there really isn't. It's like
there's definitely the appeal of freedom, right? Like it's someone that seems kind of like unburdened by a lot of the social rules that you feel like you need to conform to be like, correct or right we live in a society. So, but it's like, so in the communities that we live in, it's like we do have to abide by certain rules to be a functioning or positive member of society. When you see someone that almost seems like they're functioning outside of that, there's definitely some sort of draw to that. Whether or not it's rational to be drawn to that or not is a totally different question. But yeah,
there's a lure to like the reckless outlaw kind of lifestyle, and I think that sometimes there's a little bit of danger when you get a little too close to that.
Yeah.
And not understanding the realities of the situation. It's like, you know, the PIMP song that 50 Cent did, which, by the way, Ty has a very fun series on YouTube in which he plays the battle royale, not really battle royale, survival shooter type game, Escape from Tarkov, called Wholesome Tarkov, that he does with his, how old is your mom, 64 now?
Yeah, 64. Yep.
With his 64-year-old mom, and the theme song is actually a version of PIMP by 50 Cent. Didn't actually intend to do that, but I was like, hey, there's a plug opportunity. But when in the song PIMP, he's essentially saying, like, all this shit you think, like, I don't have a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a perm. Like, I'm not wearing some, like, super cool hat strutting around in, like, a completely velvet suit. Like, I'm an actual, like, pimp. Like, this is not, it's not this, like, thing you think it is. Like, I don't look like one of the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
It's not some, like, 1970s exploitation film idea. Like, it's a real thing, and it's fucking gritty. And which is funny because he has, like, the beat in that song and the way that it sounds is so, like, poppy. He even has, like, the little steel drum in there. It's like, but if you listen to what he's saying, he's telling you, like, look, it's not like how you think it is. Like, it's not some, like, it's not some glitzy thing where I walk around with my, you know, big hair and a cool pair of sunglasses and my, you know, platform shoes. Like, it's not.
However,
it's real.
If you look at one of those Pimps and Hoes conventions that goes on, there is a lot of that. There's the jeweled goblets. There are the purple suits. There, that does happen quite a bit. But I think that a lot of that is just for the show, right? Like
I'll say what I usually say about Bike Week at the beach is that while all those people are over there riding around really slow, having a social club, I'm in the mountains using my motorcycle for what it's made for. And I kind of feel like that's what those kind of pimp conventions are. Like, the other people who would be, quote, real pimps are out there actually doing the stuff.
Yeah, butters.
The things.
Don't you want to make some real fucking money? Oh, why did I bleep bitch but not fuck? I'm really bad at that. Is it one of those words even like
I don't know. Nobody cares about, I mean, I don't know if you watched the History of Cursing or with Nick Cage on Netflix.
Yeah, I forget what that was called. Yeah, that was interesting though.
Yeah, it's like, you know, eventually no one's gonna give a shit about any of the cursing.
So many of the words that a few hundred years ago were so taboo or like just part of our normal speech now.
Oh yeah. And I just wanted to, like, for a moment, just sort of point out the fact that, you know, you get to see the artist's perspective of this lifestyle kind of from Steve's point of view. And, you know, the guy, like, you know, King seems cool. Like, he seems like a cool dude that, like, he thinks you're cool. And that one scene where he's sort of like pulling actually, wait, what is that term? I think I might actually say something really interesting that might make me seem cultured. But I have to Google it first, so maybe that's taking the meaning away. But I don't know what to call it.
I was gonna guess do-rag, but what did you? Where were you? What were you like by your movement? I thought, like, I'm not.
Oh yeah, that is the right thing. Sorry, I was reading the thing that I was going to make myself sound smart with. What were you saying, sir?
No, I was asking what judging by your motion, I was like, is he removing his do-rag? Like, what was it?
The Veils of Maya.
That's way different. Whole idea
that you have this series of veils that sort of like that you're seeing life through, these perceptions that are distorting your reality of, like, actual reality.
Yeah.
I think it's like I don't know if it's like I think it's a Hindu thing. Maybe it's a Buddhist thing. There's a little bit of overlap. There's overlap between Hinduism and basically fucking everything else. But there's a scene where King is sort of sitting there and pulling back his kind of veil of Maya and saying, like, why do you think that guy's sitting there all the time? Do you really think that these two dudes walk back and forth several times and just happen to run into somebody they know? You know, every time they walk out of this apartment building, like, this is what's actually happening, dude. Like, you walk right by these people. Yeah. So you ever notice it doesn't smell like bleach or detergent ever?
Yep.
You know, and that's kind of, it makes him seem like he's got some kind of some kind of awareness, and that's kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Like I would have been intrigued by that if I was standing outside and the guys are telling me shit like that. I'd be like, oh shit, you're right. Like I have walked by this stuff all the time. I didn't even know.
Yep.
There's a whole other world. And he does seem somewhat enamored. However, I've never heard. Have you ever heard that beloved as a figure of speech to call like your buddies?
Okay, just simply because literally the band. When there was the somewhat local but somewhat successful band Beloved, I was trying to figure out if it was beloved or beloved, and just looking at the etymology of the word, I did learn that it was like an actual noun that you could call someone. So, but yeah, but not. I've almost never heard that just like in conversation. No.
I'm just gonna start calling like casual friends that and see how they react.
I'm down with it. If you call me beloved, I'm way into that. Yeah.
All right, beloved.
I'm cool with that.
I'm not ASAP Rocky cool. Like I can't say it like.
Can that be my new name? What if I just went with Ty the Beloved? Is that too like? Yeah, that's too much. Your face is saying all I need to hear. It's all good. It's all good. I don't need an audible answer. I got a facial expression is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, who's that guy on? Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He ends
John
his name
Stamos.
with the he. No, but that would be great. He ends his name with his. He refers to himself as the God. He's on. Is he on Sway? No, he's on a talk show. I'll think of it later. But it sounded a lot like that guy.
Gotcha.
If anybody knows, please let me know. Yeah, it's really funny.
Or Tyler the Creator. It's kind of along that kind of same lines too, right? But
that would be kind of cool, actually. I don't hate that.
Well, if there's already Tyler the Creator, I don't want to be Ty the Creator.
Oh yeah, that would be lame.
Yeah.
But it is funny that we actually had to have somebody in the chat like put us back on track. Like, this is a movie you're talking about, right?
I mean, like, there's not a lot of like beat for beat points we want to talk about in this movie, really. Another one that stood out to me, I thought another great moment. The whole like, another Maureen line I thought was great. Excuse me, it's our job to make you a human being in the eyes of a jury, and then Steve even questioning himself, like, am I a human being, while watching the jury walk in and watching them avert their gaze from him, things like that. It's like, yeah, that is like, that has to go on in courtrooms all across the world constantly. Yeah. And that is like, that's a fucking weird sentiment.
Yeah. Like, is there some subtle thing about how I'm acting that makes me seem a little bit like a murderer, you know, or a little bit like an accomplice? Am I doing a thing that they'll perceive as being criminal?
Thank you, Big Dog. Charlemagne the God? Is that?
Yeah, yes. Charlemagne the God. That's who it is. Yeah. That dude.
But yeah, there was even that point later in the movie where I forget what emotional moment happened, but it made Steve kind of put his head down for a second, and she was like, stop doing that. It's like, do you want to lose your I forget what Maureen said, but it was like, yeah, it's like being on trial. It's like you have to like be so conscious of the image you're presenting without being able to just feel and express what you're actually feeling. Like, yeah, it's so fun. It becomes this pageant. Like, that's what's so weird. Is like you were bringing up about like the faults of the justice system. Like, it is so much more pageantry than actually finding the truth. And that's horrible. Like that's like almost despicable. Like, I don't know what word to use for that, but it's like, it is such a bastardized version of what it should be.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't realize how you come off until it's amplified in a setting like, you know, a courtroom or a Senate hearing. I'm talking about you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize like, wow, I come off a lot of ways and none of them are good. But yeah, it does seem in some ways a farce, like the way that things are kind of done.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, I remember I was talking to a old friend of mine and Craig, and in the conversation we were talking about religion, and at the time I was a very, very narrow-minded, like almost militant atheist, and I said to our my two friends, you know, I think the biggest problem with religion is that people do it. And then our other buddy that was in the conversation was like, I think you'll find the problem with most things is that people do them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's fair enough. Like, thank you for taking the cynicism all the way up for us in this conversation, sir.
People are just the worst, the absolute worst.
Yeah, but I also like, misanthropy is such a weird thing because you have to be human to be misanthropic.
Yeah.
So like I kind of walk this line between like, because being like misanthropic in any way is kind of a weird disaster for any human because you're essentially a self-loathing human. But we can acknowledge our flaws as a species, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I would say I think it should be encouraged. Yeah.
But it shouldn't like get to the point where you almost end up like hating humanity as a whole. I'm not saying that that's like what we're doing here, but I just wanted to bring some kind of, I don't know, balance.
What the fuck is that?
Our recurring theme since this podcast started.
What is this balance you speak of, sir?
I don't know, like a friend tattoo idea you had recently because of the fact that it comes up on our podcast all the time.
That is true.
I wish I could actually drop this mic and not feel like shit about myself. And then I would.
Oh, we need to get. Do you remember like way back when we were kids, they had those like plastic microphones that just was like a spring inside, like a Barbie pink one. We need to each have those so we can have mic drop moments where we just reach over and drop the like Barbie mic.
And just go bang, like a weird like. It's a spring reverb, right?
Yeah,
original spring reverb.
It'd be really sweet if we had the same one and we could look like we passed it off. Like if I had it here and I handed it through there, then you picked up the same one. Like that would be adorable. I think I want to avoid that word, but it would be
adorable.
Thank you. That's way better.
Yeah, I think anyway. Yeah.
Another thing that came up in this film that really the conversation between James and Steve really makes me want to rewatch Dead Presidents. I haven't seen that movie in probably over a decade, maybe longer. And like when he was talking about that, I was like, oh shit, I need to rewatch that. Like that's a good film that like I really should revisit.
Oh man, that's so fun because I want to tell you something, but I can't. Oh, that sucks so bad. Okay, at some point. Mm-hmm. Not at some point. The next time I present on our other show,
you're bringing Dead Prez.
No, you will hear about Dead Presidents again at some point from me.
You're bringing the Dead Kennedys. Oh my God, Jello Biafra. Yes, I am ready for that.
You will never guess.
No,
and if you're wondering what I'm talking about, we do another show called the Metacast Music Dudes, in which myself, my dude Ty's daddy, and our friend Craig all talk about bands. One of us brings one and represents them as a band, and we all listen to 3 songs, figure out if we hate the band, then we will not listen to the 4th one. It's just a good opportunity to judge our friends and make them feel like crap about what they listen to. So if you like music and you like us, you'll love our other 2 friends that are on there. So watch that too.
Yeah, that show's a lot of fun. I have really been enjoying doing that. I'm so pumped for it's not next week, but the following week to present. Yeah.
Or no, hold on, shit,
or is it? I forgot. Did we pick the 22nd or the 29th? Now I don't remember.
It's 22nd, I think.
Okay. Sweet.
Computer.
Oh, she doesn't like that.
Sorry. I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Hey, thanks, big dog. Yeah, check it out. If you enjoy music, we got 4 episodes are currently up. 5th one will be coming soon. Actually, I'm sorry, 5 episodes up. I forgot we did the viewer appreciation episode. That is up there as well.
Dude, my Amazon Echo's broke.
Hold on. I have made the same mistake, I think 3 episodes in a row.
What's that?
You can call it. What have I not done the past like literally 3 episodes?
I don't know.
I forget.
Taking a piss.
Yep, I keep forgetting to take my pre-podcast piss, and now I am dying.
Well, did you notice that the camera kept focusing on that one juror?
Obviously not, because my initial thought was which one. I remember
that pasty white guy that's in the center of almost every jury shot they do.
Okay. Well, there was also, but I also remember the disdainful looking pasty older white woman. I remember the older Asian man.
Yeah, well, they did, like, they would do shots of, like, jurors, like, walking by and things like that and do close-ups of them. But anytime where they were showing, like, the whole jury and where's the place that the jury sits? Is there a name for that? There's a name for fucking everything.
I think it's just juror's box.
Okay, and the jury
box.
penalty box.
I think it's just jury box.
In the jury box, like, when they show a shot of that, there's like one dude that's consistently, not every time, but he's consistently in the center of the shot. And he has like all these crazy looks on his face. They're like, it's like every moment they're trying to get his reaction. And like the moments where it's like, oh, Steve's shitty. Then he's like, ah. And it's like, that's a cliffhanger. And he's like, oh. And then it's like, Steve seems like an okay guy. And he's like, like every single time it's like, they just want this guy's face. And I'm like, who is this dude?
I mean, it sounds like he is what we need for thumbnails. Like he's built for YouTube thumbnails. He can express with his face different, like, yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to see if this guy is in the cast. I need to know who this guy is. I have to find this guy. I don't know why the hell I didn't figure this out before. No.
Your cat is looking extra cute back there. I don't know what he's staring at, but he is like, he's just sitting on your couch and staring at something, and it is.
Yeah. Oh, there is a ambulance outside my apartment.
Oh, I hope all your neighbors.
And he's
are okay.
hearing the diesel engine.
Gotcha.
Ty, am I okay? Do I look all right? Are they here for me?
Yeah.
Like, did I hurt myself? Jesus Christ! It's a fucking fire truck.
Oh. And that can't be related to your Alexa not working recently, but nah.
Okay, actually, I don't know.
I don't see any of the flashing. No, I don't see it from there.
There is someone very hefty tromping up them stairs too.
I bet they're firemen. Ooh, dude, firemen.
Well, a lot of
firemen are hot.
What?
Did you get that? That was a pun because they work in buildings that are on fire a lot.
But
Yep. Yeah, there it is.
Oh man. Now the fire truck's leaving.
Yeah, the big dog's asking, do you smell smoke? Is your door hot? Is there any reason for an emergency? Are you okay?
I smell no smoke.
That's no fun.
I didn't even know my cat was back there.
I wish I still had my smoke weed every day sample. I don't have that.
Oh man,
that would have been a perfect. Yeah, that would have been a perfect opportunity for that.
That would have been ideal, in fact. The hose draggers.
I feel like that's like a derogatory term for firemen, but that also could just be like dudes with really long cocks. They're like the hose draggers, or like never mind. Never mind. I don't like that.
Ain't nobody dragging no hose around here, man. Not happening.
We all dragging balls.
I was kind of at the end of the movie. I kind of thought to myself, like, oh yeah, he really was just watching the light outside.
Okay, so let's get to that. We both said we kind of called it early. Like, he did do what he was accused of doing, right?
Kind of.
Like, but also, I would argue that it's like, I don't think that, like, really, and I hate that. I don't really understand what the law is called. I don't remember, but like how many states have this thing where it's like, if you are in any way involved in a crime that leads to someone's death, you are also going to get the murder charge. Where it's like literally the James who pulled the trigger is going to get the exact same charge as Steve, who walked in the store and may or may not have given some signal to say that there was not anyone else in the store. That to me is just
shot
ridiculous.
Himself during the struggle.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. He didn't pull the trigger. He was like, but I'm sorry. I meant more. That's fair. I meant more like someone who was involved in the actual struggle that then like more directly led to that versus someone who was literally not even there when that happened. But
he was much closer to the trigger when it was squeezed.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Or I mean, I would argue even like part of the struggle that would cause the trigger to be squeezed. I don't think that person would have shot himself if neither of them were in the store. But
I mean, I anticipated that the involvement was going to be greater than that. There's going to be more involvement.
Mhm.
But I mean, he didn't not do it, but he didn't
Yeah.
exactly, because it's like they didn't tell him exactly why they wanted him to say if someone was in there. But like, bro, what the fuck do you think they're asking you for? You know?
Yeah.
And
Which, I mean,
Steve,
it seemed like he knew too. You know, like talking about like
Yeah.
walking to the store and everything and how those 93 steps really meant something to him. Like he had to have had some idea that it wasn't just like, oh, make sure my grandpa's not in there. Like,
yeah, even though he seemed a little bit naive to some degree, but not like completely, like to the point like where he wouldn't get what was happening right there. And
Yeah.
I don't know if he that didn't seem like a signal to me. I think he just went in there thinking like I'm not really sure why I'm doing this. Also, that dude has my bike. And I'm not like
Yeah.
I'm not exactly like what am I supposed to do? Like this guy seems like pretty like tough type of dude. Like I don't really know if I want to screw with him. Was it like out of fear? Was he, concerned? Like was it also a little bit of pressure? Like he wanted the guy to like him or something
Mhm.
like that?
Yeah.
When he came outside, that didn't look like a signal to me. It looked like he was just like kind of like looking above his head. They even did like a shot with like the light coming between his fingers. That
I
cinematography I was talking about.
I read that as a way to signal while also keeping plausible deniability. I read that Steve was that smart that it was just kind of like, okay, I know what these guys want. I know that like I could obviously stand in the door and go, hey guys, everything's fine, or I could, do something I normally do and frame something like that. And like, like that's how it read to me at least, but I don't know if that's the writer's intention.
I don't yeah. I I think that maybe they did it in a way that was intended to be ambiguous. I think they
Mhm.
wanted us to have this conversation. Like not us in particular, but they wanted people that like the
This
audience
was
to talk
literally
about this.
just for us. What do you mean? This like you didn't go if you
Yeah.
watch to the very end of the credits, it says like this movie is dedicated to Distance and Ty. We want them to discuss specifically this. You didn't see that part?
Yeah.
The
Oh, no, I
post credit
didn't. I should've
scene
watched.
where Iron Man
It's
shows
not
up.
a Marvel movie. It's not a Marvel movie. Nobody watches to the end if it's not a Marvel movie. I don't know. I should have watched to the end though. But apparently, we're like the only people that saw it because like nobody here has seen it or even thought about seeing it. I told them they probably shouldn't. You said they should because you clearly don't love them.
See, that's why we should have done Stowaway. Everyone watched Stowaway.
It was so did everyone watch it?
Hold
'Cause
on.
it was so bad.
I guess I'm interested.
It was so bad.
Like was Stowaway? This was better than Stowaway or worse than Stowaway in your opinion?
I like this better than Stowaway.
Okay.
Okay, free review, guys, for watching this episode. If you made it this far, Stowaway is a no. Please don't see it. Please.
I just put
there
like,
you go.
should you watch Double No up? Yeah.
We get a no for that. Yep.
Yeah. I'm still gonna watch it. I can't.
Oh, God,
I'm a
it's so
completionist.
bad.
I
It's
watched
so
every single
bad.
thing that Anna Kendrick is in. There's
Oh,
no
God,
possibility
it's
that a movie
so
with her
bad.
will come out that I will not watch. So.
Nobody can save that movie.
Yeah,
That movie is
that surprises me. Yeah.
It's
The
unredeemable.
premise seems horrible. I will have to give it that. The premise, like even when I saw the trailer, was like that's a movie. That's someone had an elevator pitch for that, and somehow that was made. Like I feel like I've had better shitty fever dreams than that.
I know I have.
Yeah.
I know for fact because I've already seen it. I know for fact I've had more entertaining fever dreams than that. Like
I had a better dream the other night. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, oh, did you get your like next shot or some shit? You had a terrible fever?
No. I had the Johnson & Johnson, so I only had the one shot. But
rub it in, why don't you?
no, but what had happened was that means I'm only 76% protected, and I also could possibly get blood clots and die according to the media. But
The media, as we say at a media outlet.
yeah, right. But no, One other thing I really wanted to point out for the movie that it's in my like meta section because it's not specific to a certain part, but it's throughout it. There was a really great touch where I guess probably whoever the sound design of this movie, I assume this was intended, but during all of the court scenes, there was a really noticeable fluorescent audio buzz that I actually like. It had me checking my fucking audio cables to make sure that it wasn't me. I was like unplugging shit. I was like, where is this coming from? And it's like they're doing that to make it seem like that when you're in that environment, that shitty, annoying sound you hear. That's like I thought that was really well done. I thought that was a cool little touch.
Yeah, I noticed it. I wasn't sure what it was, but now that you mentioned it, I feel like I'm not crazy now.
Yep.
Like I didn't want to like I watched this movie with my girlfriend and I didn't want to be like, do you hear that?
Yeah.
Do you hear that? And then I just didn't want that to be the moment where she was like, I think you're clinically insane.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
She hasn't yet said that to you?
No.
You've been with her for like she should have said that a long time ago.
We keep her away from that fact.
Okay. Well, luckily she doesn't watch our podcast.
Yeah, we've done a very good job of not being found out.
Gotcha.
I'm not talking about you and I. I'm talking about us.
True. You and Venom.
Yeah.
What did she think of it?
She okay, this is actually totally effed up. Like I invited her over like out of nowhere, like, hey, do you want to come over and watch this movie with me? And that's like the only reason why she came over was to watch that movie with me. I mean, obviously to hang out with me, but
yeah,
mostly just to watch a movie because who wants to hang out with me? Especially not my girlfriend.
True.
And right before she left, I was like, hey, I mean, what did you think about that movie? And she was like, eh. And just like walked out the door. I was like, okay, good night.
I think they should use her quote and her review for like the DVD cover. It's just like, eh.
That would be good. It was really it kind of felt like a not a great movie, and thank you so much for wasting my fucking time on it, you know. But she really wanted to watch it, so like we both thought it was going to be some fucking great thing, and we thought the premise was interesting, and we were both disappointed.
Yep, it is like the opposite of well, and I shouldn't say the opposite. To me, I did think a lot I think a lot was well done in this movie. I know that you characterize it as a bad movie, but to me, I do think a lot was well done. So often I find a movie that is a great premise or great idea that is just executed horribly. I think that this is almost the opposite of like a premise that is like kind of cool, but like it actually no. Honestly, no. I think it's a pretty lazy premise that was done pretty well. But
yeah, I mean they did a great job of polishing up an awful plot.
I thought you were going to say turd there. they polished the hell out of that turd.
It's not. This isn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, we've seen Dark Crimes. We've both sat through that.
I have a coworker who's Polish. Like his parents are Polish. His first language is actually Polish. And I asked him to watch that movie because I'm trying to figure out what fucking accent Jim Carrey was doing in it. He hasn't watched it yet because I told him how bad it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. But yeah, if you don't even watch our episode on Dark Crimes, just don't go see the movie, please. It's just bad.
The lady that cut my hair the other day, we started talking about like the podcast came up. I forgot how she asked like what I do for fun, and like ended up talking about that. And she was like, all right, well, what's the worst movie you've reviewed recently? And I was like, have you ever heard of Dark Crimes? I was like, that immediately came to my mind. I was like, yeah, that one was 100% the worst. The
funny thing is, I think I gave that one a yes because I thought the concepts were interesting. But I've changed my approach for reviewing films because I thought there were a lot of cool ideas in this one, but I still gave it a no. But yeah, I mean, and we did do Greasy Strangler, but Greasy Strangler was designed to be bad.
Yes, that is very different. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even really make my list, honestly, of crap movies that I've seen.
I do have a movie on the possible list for like if there is a week coming up next year where there isn't a good new movie, This may be the worst movie we've ever seen. It has the worst Rotten Tomato scores, even worse than Dark Crimes. Do you remember the old survival horror video game Alone in the Dark?
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, the game's all right. There is apparently a film of that is just absolutely irredeemable. I
remember this.
I never saw it, but I saw the Rotten Tomato scores pop up one time, and I was like, "Holy shit! If we ever have an off week, like that's probably a piece of shit we could just tear apart." Like, it seems like it's just horrible.
Dude, yeah, I owned the like original Alone in the Dark game when I was a little kid.
I remember playing that with you in like 5th grade or whatever. Like,
yeah. It was such a weird game. Like it could still freak you out though. There were some jump scares in there, but I vaguely remember Alone in the Dark. Oh my God, Christian Slater is in this.
Yeah. I don't think I ever saw the film, but I would love to rewatch it, or excuse me, not rewatch. I'd love to revisit that sometime soon. Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, this sounds like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a fun one to just crap all over.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun to do that every now and then. Cool. You got anything else on this one you want to hit?
Basically, the only thing that I wanted to talk about was the main theme that jumped out to me. We kind of lightly brushed on it earlier when talking about the appeal of the James King character, whatever. But it's like, yeah, that fitting in idea, the peer pressure of like, I'm sure everyone has experienced that, being young at some age where you don't really know who you are yet, and you're trying to find the place that you're going to fit in, and you're kind of experimenting with different friend groups and different things, and like there is this appeal of like the bad boy that is like, ooh, like, yeah, what is this lifestyle? What are they doing? What? And I mean, even like, you know, I loved the scene where he's taking footage or pictures of the kids skateboarding, and then, you know, kind of gets distracted and goes over and gets called over by James to like watch the basketball game, and it's all about like flexing and showing how much money he's making, and then like all of it is even like it's not a basketball game for the enjoyment of what they're doing. It's like, oh, this is, watch me take this bread from these kids, you know, like it's all about like this kind of posturing where it is like some sort of it seems weak when really like looking at it, because it is like you're kind of having to qualify what you're doing by like making it like, oh, well, this is because I'm making money. This is what this is for. And like, but there is that allure to that.
Yeah, I mean, it is attractive. I mean, like, why do you think there's all kinds of expensive shit in the background of like half the YouTube advertisements of like, you know, do you want to make a shitload of money and do absolutely nothing? You know, and there's always, hey, bling.
Exactly. Why do I have a few thousands of dollars of shit just hanging there? It's all for some sort of appearance, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that bike was dirt cheap, for the record.
Do you oh, okay. Is my rifle more expensive than your bike?
The big one?
Either.
They're probably about the same.
Okay. Yeah, I know bikes can be expensive. I know bikes can be very expensive.
Based on what I know about, I think you talked to me about that specific one. I think they're about the same. But I mean, there is an aftermarket set of wheels on that. But okay, I'm flexing. Fuck, yeah. I'm flexing. It's cheap. But you know, it's funny. Like, there's a guy that lives in my apartment complex that had a BMW 6 Series, and he recently procured a brand new BMW 430i. And when I see like a young person, like, I mean, and what I mean by young is like, you know, 20, 30 somewhere, 20s, 30s somewhere in there, and they have a really expensive car. I don't look at them and think, oh, how prosperous. I'm like, yep, that person's fucking broke.
Yeah, that there was a really cool advertisement. I forget what company did this, but it was a way of visualizing. It showed every like new car driving down the road with this ball and chain attached to it that was the monthly payment. I forget what company did that, but it was like a really cool way of showing that it's like, yeah, you're not actually like, that's not an asset. Like, that is literally a liability at that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's kind of how I am with cars now. Like, I won't buy like a quote, you know, like a nice car, so to speak, because there's just all kinds of, like, you have it and it costs money and you feel the need to take care of it, and it takes so much energy. And it's just, I'm not saying like to neglect your car if it's not something super expensive. I mean, take care of your shit, but it's like it's just.
I would much rather have just a paid off car than some new flashy, bill every month. Like that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And but it all seems cool. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the last thing I wanted to touch on. What else do you have?
I think that was pretty much it for me. I think we hit all the points that I really wanted to hit.
Ooh, does that mean it's crush time?
Crush. Oh yeah, it's time for our movie crushes.
I still haven't made a scene for that. I feel so bad. I've been like the last 6 days I've had an excuse. You know how insane my moving experience has been with the multiple utility changes and all that. But I still feel like that should be something that I have done at this point and have not. But I will.
All you gotta do is just put a couple hearts around the frames or some shit. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Yeah, but it just even just the words, where we have favorite line that pops up, just the words movie crush, like other things. But yeah, I do think the hearts would be a great idea too. But you go first.
Okay, my movie crush in this film is Maureen O'Brien, played by Jennifer Ill. Come on, the savior of wrongly accused young men. Like, how could you not? You have to have a crush on this character.
That's fair. And she's a very pretty actress too. I have to give that.
Yeah, she's attractive. She was in that Pride and Prejudice movie with Colin Firth.
Oh, I was wondering where I knew her from. Okay.
She was in 50 Shades of Grey.
I have not seen.
Which I didn't see. I only know that from
any of those. There's 3, right? Isn't that a trilogy?
I don't know. I didn't know they made more than one movie.
50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, 50 Shades Freed. Don't tell me how I know that, but I actually I know.
Yeah, I know the books are a trilogy, but
the YouTuber that I sent you a link to recently, she did reviews of all 3 of those movies, and I've watched her reviews. I haven't seen the original movies, but I do know the titles of the actual 3, the trilogy. But they're all apparently horrible. Like, at least judging from her reviews of them, they are all just apparently atrocious. But
I had a feeling they'd all be pretty bad. She was also in that Ides of March movie with everyone else's favorite movie crush, Ryan Gosling. So she's done some cool work, and she's been in a lot of cool movies. And the character she played was very much seemed like a strong, intelligent person who had very, very good intentions of wanting to go after the best thing for everybody involved. Wanting to do a good job and not caring one way or the other. I'm just gonna try to figure out the truest thing, or at least make people figure out where the prosecution made a mistake.
Yep. Well, yes and no. I did kind of hate that scene where the prosecutor is telling her to take the deal, and she just tries to haggle for 5 to 7 instead. And it's that part, I do understand that is, her doing her job, but at the same time, it's to me, it's anyone that really cared and had an investment in their client would be fighting for their innocence, not being oh yeah, we'll take a plea deal for 5 to 7 years with a 17-year-old kid that is literally going to ruin much of his young life.
I also think that someone that has that much experience in a courtroom is probably going to understand how difficult their job can be in a given situation. So I don't know if it had anything to do with that.
Well, no, but
there's also
we have the benefit of hindsight of knowing that, they actually won that case. So literally taking that deal would have been a horrible deal for Steve, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, because we are the omniscient audience.
Yes. All right. So my movie crush, I have to admit, just like we've talked about, there's a big allure there. I love me a bad boy. My movie crush was James King, was A$AP Rocky. I couldn't help it. Just like Steve, I was drawn to that. He was, even though the whole flexing thing, the posturing, all of that is silly to me, it was done in a way where it was all I wanted to do was learn more from that character. That was the character that really I had the biggest draw to. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, I mean that makes sense. I mean that's the allure of that kind of like personality. And Jennifer Hudson was actually another pick. That was Steve's mom.
She was really flat in this though.
But yeah, but because she played his mom,
yeah,
and like you didn't really get much with the character, like I decided not to pick that.
She was literally like that entire role was just like grasp my pearls. You know, it's like the whole like every scene was just like, how could you do this to my boy? Like I know that's the.
That was one thing that I didn't mention was that like the scene where she's talking, like trying to like reading him Bible verses in the middle of like hey dude, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like he's in jail right now around a bunch of scary people. Like you're really doing Bible verses right now. Yep. Like do you see these people staring? Yep. You're gonna get your son you're gonna get his ass kicked.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the. I mean, there is the like. Again, like we do this a lot where like someone else has worded this way better. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Like that is 100% her intending something good, but not really reading the room, not really understanding that there's a time and a place for things, and that's neither.
Which that saying in particular is hilarious because it is a Bible too. So
yep. All right. Well, that means now I do have a scene for this one. Are you ready for favorite line?
Oh yeah.
So you go first again. What's your favorite line from this one?
Okay, so this one is just the many times that this happened in the film are probably my favorite parts of the movie. And I suspect this is because it was based on a book. But it's funny because I had a conversation with my lady friend after we finished this movie about like how come he couldn't just tell them exactly what happened. And the reason why I said was because it's a courtroom. Like there's no gray area. They either yes or no. This is a black and white answer that they have to give. So it just depends. If you provide gray area, then it's all about the jurors. Are they half full, half empty? Are they optimist, pessimist? Do they like you? Do they not like you? Yep. If you give them gray area, they're going to go with either the black or the white, just depending upon who they are. And you don't want that shit. Mm-hmm. And then in the moment that I said that, I was like, oh, Eureka! And I understood the meaning of this line, even though I should have figured it out at the very beginning of the film, because it's not that clever, but I kind of like it. And I'm not going to try to do that like New York accent that he has.
No, yeah. You just deliver it as you would if you were the actor.
And I'm gonna try to do the tone, but interior courtroom. Fluorescence illuminates blacks and whites that swallow up the grays. No space for gray in the court of law.
Yep, that was a good one. I'm
good. I bubbled the shit out of a bunch of words, but that's okay.
I was in the same boat though. I did not put together really the like what that was saying until a little bit later, and that like I feel like kind of stupid for that. Whereas like that really it went over my head and then circled back like a boomerang and hit me like right in the back of the head a little bit later. But yeah, mine is actually honestly a line that I did it again. It's a fucking monologue. It is a monologue again that really echoes the exact same theme though, given by someone who, in my opinion, I think in both of our opinions, did not get nearly enough screen time, but Nas I think fucking killed it. My favorite line was, a trial isn't what's real. It's not about what's true. It's about you knowing you. Because them folks, man, them lawyers, the jury, all they see is another black man with a rap sheet down the block. But that isn't you, man. You don't deserve this, man. Look, man, when you walk into that courtroom today, everything they say means nothing. They're not going to say nothing that's right. You are not this. All those creeps, these suckers in here, man, they all say they're innocent, but the system says everybody is guilty. So you want to know the difference between innocent and guilty? Standing on your own truth. And remember, always look a man in the eye. That was a good monologue from him. Like I was really moved by that scene.
You can tell he's a rapper by the way he delivered it too.
Yes.
You can tell Nas, like you can hear you understand like why he raps the way he does. Very ambitious, by the way. Another ambitious one. Congrats though. Delivered well, sir.
I'm gonna like so I've done recently like just try, like for instance, you know, like applying to be Pestily's new editor and things like that. Like I'm just gonna go for things that I know that I'm not at all qualified for and just like fucking see what happens. So I am like, I'm considering, like, you know how there's those weird like open casting calls where you can go and just try to be like I'm gonna really master a monologue, like one of my favorite monologues, and just go and audition for something and like just give my best performance and see what people say. But like I think it'd be fun. But like there's a few monologues from movies that I really like. So if I really like spent like a few weeks with one and memorized it and like, you know, spent a lot of time in the mirror, I think I could give like a good monologue once. But
yeah, unfortunately, one of my favorite monologues is in French, so I don't know how I would do that. But
what's it from?
It's from JCVD.
I don't even know. What is JCVD? What is that?
It is a kind of a strange movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme plays himself.
Oh, okay. I have heard of that. Okay.
Happens. There's a moment where it kind of like pulls him out of the scene, and he does like this monologue. It's a pretty cool little monologue. The movie's sort of silly, but it's kind of fun to see him like play himself. So,
you mean to tell me a movie called JCVD where Jean-Claude Van Damme plays himself is silly? I don't know if you're. I don't know, man.
What's this world coming to? Yeah. It was better than Time Cop.
That's not saying anything. There's almost every movie created is better than Time Cop.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my God. Holy shit. We should do Alone in the Dark versus Time Cop. That would be a really fun week of just like which one is worse. Like one of us pick one that we think is worse and try to debate back and forth of like which movie is worse.
That actually would be fun.
That'd be a lot of fun.
I wouldn't mind
that. I think it's kind of a cool idea. So guys, next week we are doing yet another new movie. I'm kind of pumped about this one. I have enjoyed a lot of her performances. I think she is a great actress. Angelina Jolie starring in Those Who Wish Me Dead. I know almost nothing about it. I saw part of a trailer. I specifically actually like when the 5-second countdown on YouTube let me skip it. I skipped it because I didn't want to see any more of it. I know that I'm going to watch it. For me, like a lot of times a trailer, unless it's a movie that I'm like really wanting to hype myself up for, a trailer is designed to tell me if I want to see a movie or not. If I know I'm already going to watch it, I don't really know if there's a point to watch the trailer at that moment. But I'm excited to see what this is about. Do you know anything about this going in?
Movie's gonna suck.
Well, that's not a good way to go into it.
I don't really know much about it. It's just someone's trying to kill someone and she's stopping them from killing them or something like that. I think.
That's a good read. I think it's about
right. Go into it expecting nothing.
Yeah. That's I expect a decent performance from an A-list actress, and that's pretty much about it. Like that's kind of, which I don't even know is she still A-list? I don't know what that term means anymore, but I don't know.
I don't know. I think they stopped editing the list like last year.
Gotcha.
And like might have like picked back up around March-ish this year. I don't know.
Well, I think really she might be a double D list if you know what I'm saying. That was a boob joke. You get the booba joke?
Stab myself with something. There's nothing stabbable on my desk. Oh God.
Well, guys, this is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you've enjoyed this on YouTube, if you've watched this episode on YouTube, and you've enjoyed the discussion, only if both of those things apply, then please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below and tell us how you felt about Monster.
If you think that Ty is a monster and Distance is a monster, or if you want to further keep up to date or even join us as a guest on a future episode, please join our Discord. The link is in the description below. We will be next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylaTV.
Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you guys have a great week.